Hey guys, so I want to do a little bit more of a conceptual video and talk about what goes into developing a good guard game. So I've been training for 16 years and there's a lot of mistakes I see people make and a lot of mistakes I made along the way that I want to kind of give you guys advice to save you time, okay? So first off, I just want to talk about like the mindset a lot of people have when they're developing a guard, which is they think of their guard game as like the guard they like to play. So they're like, I'm a spider guard player, or I'm a single leg guard player, or they kind of pick a guard and that's like their thing, right? Realistically, I feel like a better way to go about building your guard is like the backbone of your guard is your guard retention, right? You should, no matter what guard you're playing, if you make a mistake, you should be able to defend and get your guard back, right? That's one thing I had in my career that helped me a long time. And I put out a lot of videos on guard retention and grip fighting and stuff like that. So in this one, I want to talk a little bit more conceptual about the positions you're developing. So with the idea of like kind of boxing yourself in, like you play a one particular guard, it's better to think in terms more of like, you want to have multiple guards you play, and then you can use those as tools when they're in a useful situation, right? So for example, let's say that you have a really good single leg guard game, right? Where you come up on the single leg and stuff like that. So like maybe we're here, right? And then you build a game off of like this kind of a thing with it, where you come up on a single leg and stuff like this, right? So this is a great game, but maybe the guy I'm fighting is a really good wrestler, right? And then it's just tougher to finish this sweep series on a good wrestler, right? So in that case, maybe like a spider style game might be a little bit easier because you can shoot triangles and omoplatas and they're less used to that, right? Another situation that could happen is maybe I'm fighting a guy who, has a very, very good guard game, right? And different guards have different attributes. This is one thing that people often don't really pay attention to is like the single leg guard position is one of my favorite guard positions, right? But it's more of a sweeping guard. Right? So if I do like a single leg position and I sweep the guy, I get 2 points. But if he has an amazing guard game, then he may sweep me back, right? Now I like to pass a lot, but if you're not comfortable in your passing, then when you play a sweep, like a sweep guard game like that, you're going to come up on top and now you have to deal with the guy's guard, right? So let's say you're in tournament, the guy you're fighting has an amazing guard game. So maybe playing more of a submission oriented guard like close guard, for example, would be good. Because when you play close guard, there's a lot of submission opportunities. There's a lot of ways to sweep the guy to get 4 points for mount, or 6 points. You get 2 points sweep, 4 points mount if you knock the guy over. You can take them back. So close guard it has that like extreme offense or very dangerous capability of submitting, right? But it can be harder to sweep. If a guy wants to stall, it can be harder, right? So, maybe you're down on points, maybe you're up in advantage, and if you close your guard, you can go for submissions, but the burden is on him to open up, right? So the way a lot of guys play is because they like box themselves in to one guard they play, they get into situations that guard's hard to play. And that's why I'm kind of trying to open people's minds to the idea of like trying to play a lot of positions, okay? You may also encounter the situation that, like, let's say spider guard is your best game, for example. The guy you're fighting, he may just happen to be like his training partners all play spider guard, and on a scale of like 1 out of 10, he's like a 10 at passing spider, and you're a 9 at playing it. But then your De La Hiva is a 6, but he's a 4 at fighting De La Hiva. So even though your spider guard's better than your De La Hiva, it may be a better choice to play that position. All right, so another common mistake I think people make when they're developing the guard is that when they start playing a new position, it doesn't work as good as the positions they already play, which should be obvious, right? Because if you've been playing a position for a year and it's your favorite guard, if you take on a new position, you're gonna do worse. And a trap that a lot of people fall into is they don't want to do worse when they roll. So they assume that because they're playing a new guard, they start getting beat by people that they don't normally get beat by, that somehow they're getting worse. But that's not the case. When you start playing a new guard, you don't forget the guard you used to have. You're just developing a new skill set. So it's really important that when you decide to start developing on a new guard, you need to have a hard rule that like you're going to play that position for like a month or a week or however long you want to set, and stick with it until you get it, right? Because if you're playing a new position like spider guard and all you did before was like half guard, it's going to feel really bad, probably for a month or two until you stick with it. But at the end of that, you'll have a new weapon in your arsenal that opens up in the context of a regular match so many more avenues of attack, right? So you may be fighting someone like, let's say that you play only like De La Hiva and single legs, right? Well, if I only play De La Hiva and single legs and the guy comes at me on both knees, right, then I can't do De La Hiva or a single leg, right? He's giving me the upper body. I can play a butterfly game, or if I have a spider game, I can like lasso, go here and completely contain him. It's so hard for him to attack from both knees versus spider guard. You have triangles,
right? I could do wheel sweeps and like all sorts of stuff like that, right? So when you're fighting here, he may start to get frustrated dealing with this and go to one knee up to defend, right? Now I can get to the ankle, push, sit out, and now I'm working up to a single leg, right? But so again, like that's the kind of thing, if you watch like Lucas Sapri at Europeans this year, he plays every guard. Like you see him playing the homolo guard, which I'm gonna do a video on soon. It's like one spider hook with one lapel like this. This is a really good position. You know, he does spider guard. When he was fighting the heavy guys, he played those positions to get the guy to step up to a leg, to switch up to the single leg, things like that, right? So one thing that I think would really help everyone is to make sure that you have at least 3 types of guards, okay? You need one good sweep guard, you need one good submission threat guard, and you need one good guard you can rest in, right? Now, some of those may overlap, but it's really good to have at least those 3. As you train longer, of course, I try to develop everything. I have like some guard level in almost every single guard type. Even guards that I don't play much, like worm guard, I've spent a lot of time there and I know stuff about it. It also makes you much better at passing. The more positions you play, even if you don't end up playing those guards, when you're passing, when you have played all those guards, you'll be much better at understanding what your opponent is trying to do and how to shut it down when you want to be a high-level passer. But yeah, so you need one of each of those 3 guard types, right? So for example, like a submission guard, like I said before, single leg guard's not a high submission guard. That's a good sweep guard. For submission guard, we're thinking more like spider guard, collar, sleeve for like triangles and omoplatas, close guard. I would say like even like doing barambolos, even though it's not a submission, if you take the guy's back, you're up 4. Now he has to escape and pass your guard and mount or submit you to win the match. So that works really good, right? For sweep guards, I'm thinking more like single leg guard, just for reference. So like this position here where you sit up and get to this position. It's hard to submit the guy from here, but man, it's super aggressive for sweeping. It only takes one little misstep from him, and then I'm starting to come up on the single leg. If he over defends, I can take the back sometimes, right? X guard, of course. Anytime you can switch up to like, however I get there into like an X guard position, then you have some submissions too, but you have tons of sweep options here, just like classic knockover sweep, come up, right? So those are really good sweep positions, right? Often there's kind of a correlation. If a position is a really good submission position, the sweeps are less there, right? So like if I'm playing spider, there's a lot of sweeps from there too, but the higher level the guy is and he gets really defensive and boxes in and it's really hard to get the submission, it can be tough to sweep really fast from spider guard, right? So then when that happens, like if I'm playing a spider guard game, you know, and I try all my quick triangles and overhead sweeps and all this stuff, and he's just being really defensive and it becomes difficult to find the attack. I'm like, okay, De La Riva ankle, push, boom. Now I'm going hyper aggressive on the single leg guard, right? Or maybe I'm playing spider, I'm like, okay, this is difficult. Boom, I work underneath, and now I'm in an X guard position, and now I'm looking for some sweeps from here, right? And as far as a rest guard goes, it's really important. It's not necessarily stalling, but like there's going to be times where you're fighting where you're exhausted, right? Like you know, when you compete, you have a tournament day that you're going to compete, and that's it. The tournament's that day. You may be injured. You know, you may the first fight you have maybe the best guy in the division, and like you upset him and he's super tired. The next guy's the second best guy in the division, and he had a bye, right? And you're sick, so you're super tired. So when you're fighting, it's not only about like using technique to defeat strength. You need to use technique to overcome cardio, right? Because if I'm fighting and I'm exhausted, my energy bar is like on a 20%, and he's completely fresh, I can't just match him like super intensity the whole time, right? I need to find spots that I can catch my breath back in, right? And you need to know your rest spots. So like one for me has always been like a lasso spider game, right? If I can get the guy here, if I'm dead tired, I can like, right? And then guys don't know how to get out of this. If you know the techniques to properly hold, which I've shown a lot before, then the guy doesn't know how to get out, and I can rest him here, right? You know, same thing. It could be from like the De La Riva in the sleeve, right? It could be close guard, right? But most high level guys you see will have some guard game that they can kind of rest and control it, right? And having an aspect of your game like that will pay off, that you can rest there, and then when you're ready to switch into, okay, I want to try to submit this guy, you transition out to a submission guard, like spider guard or collar sleeve or close guard, right? Or you go, oh man, I'm down by 2 points, I have to sweep or I'm gonna lose, right? And there's a minute left, then you switch out to like single leg guard or X guard or something like that. All right, guys, so comment and let me know what you guys would like to see next. If you'd rather see some more setups for different guards, or if you guys would like to see some more breakdowns for certain positions, or maybe even some passing. Also, like, follow me on Instagram at Jon Thomas BJJ.
A lot of small details I put up on there. I know I've mentioned that a lot before. I'm also starting to do like really short, like kind of conceptual videos, like 1 minute, where I can talk about topics like this, but condensed 1 minute things. Because there's a lot with jiu-jitsu that's not just the techniques. I know if I show people a random technique, it's cool, but it's not gonna have the big impact on your game that some of the big conceptual ideas will have, okay guys? So as always, if you like the content, the best way to help is to share, subscribe, and like. Thanks a lot.